BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with OCR Buddy and OCR Strong. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related. Welcome to BeastNet.
Hey everybody, Mike with BeastNet here, and on today's episode, I've got with me Julie. Julie, remind everyone who you are and what you do.
I am the owner and race director for the Phoenix Race brand. We are a Eastern, used to be Southeastern, now we're just saying Eastern, Eastern race brand in the United States. We have 8 events this year in the OCR realm, and then we also do some triathlons. Co-founder of OCR Addicts and the OCR Strong Foundation, and do a little bit of work with Legend Born as well. So I'm just all things OCR.
Nice. See, and that's so cool. I really want to get down there for one of your triathlons. I've actually got a couple coming up, depending on when Dawn airs this one. I'm doing one this weekend and one next weekend. So we'll see how that goes. I'm getting more into those. The swimming is killing me, but I'll get that figured out eventually. But I've been saying that forever. I've told so many people, it's like, my wife says, she's like, I'm really good at not drowning, but I'm just not good at swimming. So, and for those that don't know and have never done this, that is 2 different things. Not drowning and swimming are completely different things. So, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a director, not a triathlon racer. I'm not a triathlete, not in any way, size, shape, or form. I admire them.
I would have said that before, but I'm trying now. I'm trying to do it. So we'll see how that goes.
Awesome. Well, you have to come see us.
Definitely. So, it's been very interesting. It's a different sport. I mean, to go from OCR to triathlons. I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit last time because you were just starting, to do it last time I had you on. But what kind of brought that on? What brought on going from OCR to triathlon? Because it doesn't sound that different, but they are 2 completely different sports, 2 completely different setups, because you have to set up the transitions, all that crazy stuff, because people don't think about it. You swim, so you've got to make sure the transition's close to the water, because you have to swim, jump out of the water, get on your bike, take off, usually come back to the same spot, and then suddenly go run. And usually a lot of people don't think about it. The bike course and the run course aren't on the same course.
Right.
So you're really setting up 3 different courses in 3 different types of areas for 3 different activities. And it just sounds insane. I mean, I've been to, I've done 3 now. And I'm like, I think I'd lose my mind just trying to set up 1.
So triathlons are actually a lot less work than obstacle course races because, if you think about an obstacle course race, we're building for a solid 7 days, and then host, and then we have 3 days for teardown. So with a triathlon, we start Friday morning, we're set up by, packet pickup Friday afternoon, and then we're tearing down and usually back to our hotel by 1 o'clock on Saturday. So it's a lot less physical work. The clientele is definitely different, and there's a huge learning curve for me. The way I got involved with it was one of our host cities had a triathlon for 36 years, and the guy that owned it wanted to retire. And so several of the athletes and a couple of the city people had called me and said, hey, you need to take this over. And, I told every one of them no. I was like, there's no way. I didn't even know how to spell triathlon. I put an A. So after talking to a couple of people that were good friends of mine that were triathlon race directors, and they said, we'll help you, and you can do this. It's not that difficult. I said, okay, let's do it. And so we hosted one in Mississippi last year. That was a very successful event for my first one. I was pleased with it. And another race owner contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in buying theirs because he just doesn't have time to do his doctor, and he is busy saving lives. So
yeah, it sounds like a valid excuse.
Yeah. Yes. So now we have another triathlon brand, and that's coming up in August in Columbus, Mississippi. So we're excited about that. But it's like I said, it's a different world. It's way more pleasurable to host triathlons in the summer than it is obstacle course races.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like I said, it just seems like it'd be two completely different, like I said, different styles where, with the obstacle course, and you don't think about that. You are building for like a week before and then 2 to 3 days after, where a lot of the triathlon, you're just trying to figure out the routes and getting okays and permits to be able to close down roads, or to however they let you do it, or just, use part of the road, or, that kind of stuff. So I could see where they could be, different,
Yeah.
but it's more patience than I have.
Yeah, race directing does take a lot of patience. I am just floored at some of the questions that we get. It just blows my mind.
I can only imagine. I mean, like the Ironman that was here last year, I volunteered, and just some of the questions I got when I'm like handing out the pack, and I'm like, I don't know, just take the packet and go. But, but then some of the other questions, you're like, wait, what? Why does that even matter? Some people get very worried about some of the weirdest things, and you're just like, what?
Well, I had a registrant ask me at her last obstacle course race. She said, where do our kids stay when we're racing? Hopefully with their grandparents. I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere else. I mean, I'll duct tape them, put them in a corner. I mean,
yeah, not here, not with me.
that's not my responsibility. I mean, your kids are your responsibility. You decided to have them. Yeah, no. Yeah, people get very interesting. It's one of those things. Like I said, I volunteered at a few, and just even doing like construction safety, every once in a while, you're just looking at people like, really?
Yeah.
This is the question you're asking? I mean, it's like, I don't even know if I want to answer that. I think I just, and there's been a couple where literally I've just kind of looked at them and said, yeah, okay. And just walked away. I'm like, I'm not even sure how to answer this. So I'm out.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
It is. It definitely interesting. Like I said, it was one of those things I just kind of randomly decided want to try it. And so far I enjoy triathlons. I'm, like I said, still trying to get past the swimming portion, but we'll figure that out eventually. So eventually, I hope. I've been able to finish a sprint, but I'll be honest, on an Olympic, I have DNF'd an Olympic because I killed myself in the swim, and then I couldn't breathe. Like, it's the first time my wife's ever seen me literally ask her for my inhaler because I could not breathe after I got out of the water. And then one of the volunteers told me to take a wrong turn.
Oh God.
So on the bike ride. So it was like I ended up like in the wrong spot. And I at the time, when I got out of the water, they're like, you have 35 minutes to get 9 miles. And I'm like, I'm going for it. I think I can make it. But the second I took that wrong turn, it was over.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
like, oh, but then also my bike started making mistakes because I'm cheap and laid it on its side and bent one of the derailleurs. So it wasn't shifting right. So that made another issue. So now I have the nice rack for the back of the car, everything to hang the bike. I'm like, everyone like, it's a $3,000 bike, but you don't want to buy it, a rack for it. And I'm like, it's a $3,000 bike that I paid $10 for. I mean, come on, give me a break. I'm cheap.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So it's a whole different thing. It's like you as a race director, I'm sure, but for like me as a racer, it's like figuring out all new equipment. It's so much different. Wetsuits, bikes, everything else, clips to use the clip pedals, which I'm gonna so die this weekend trying to use clip pedals. So I've only practiced on them like twice, and I bent one of them and had to rebend it, and it's been a nightmare learning all the weird stuff and equipment that goes with them. So I couldn't imagine being the race director. Actually, the more I think about it, I think the race director might be easier, but
yeah.
So you have a few triathlons coming up then. So now you've bought another brand. So like you said, you have the one that you were doing, you bought another brand that's coming up in August. How many races did that brand have?
They just had the one,
Okay.
and it's called the Possum Town. So it's a neat little niche. It's on a Army Corps of Engineers property, and yeah, I think it's gonna be neat. I'm looking forward to it.
It sounds like a pretty cool one. So
Yep.
so far you have 2 triathlons, and how many mud runs do you have now? I know Phoenix has a few.
Yeah, so we have 3 Phoenix races. We have Murder Creek Mud Run, Scenic City Mud Run, Black Swamp now, which we're super excited about. It's coming up in a few weeks, and Berserker Battle, and we hosted the Tuscaloosa Gauntlet this year as well. So is that 8, 7, 8, 9?
It's getting up there.
It is.
Which is amazing.
I
I
would
mean,
love
I've heard great things about yours. I definitely got to get out there once I'm on the East Coast. So, well, middle of the country, East
Yeah.
Coast, whatever.
I would love to do a race every month. I think that would be just like success for me. I mean, a good goal race every month, but those January and February and December race really got to have the right venue. So,
I can see that.
we can until we can nail that down. We'll just keep on keeping on with our spring through fall.
Yeah,
I don't like to.
well, I could see it being, especially the December, January races, but I mean, there's Florida, stuff like that, which, but like living up here in Washington, no. Like even the ones that do like April races up here, I mean, you're swimming.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I think we could do Southern Florida, maybe January, February, but just getting a property nailed down. And when you're such a small company, it's just me and Jason. That's it.
Yeah.
We've got a wonderful ambassador team that steps up and helps with social media and sponsorships and packet pickup and volunteers. But as of right now, it's just us. And so trying to scout new venues while we're already planning, to trips to take off and go to Ohio and everywhere else is a little bit difficult.
I could see that.
So yeah, it's it'll happen. It'll happen in time. And when when the opportunity comes about, we'll definitely check into it, try to scope it up. But it's it'll be maybe next year, maybe the year after, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, not to sound bad, but I mean, you are growing, which is always a good sign. Maybe not in the typical way that a lot of people grow, but you're still growing. But it's just basically, by like some people do by acquiring other, brands and stuff like that, which works out too, because you're taking brands that otherwise would have been leaving that market. And now you're keeping them there. And that's one of the things like, I've talked a lot about. I love the local races, and it's so tough up here in the Northwest. We've watched so many local races come up and we're like, this is so much fun. And then all of a sudden they're gone, because they just can't survive. And I can name a bunch off the top of my head that have been here and just they couldn't keep going. And it's so amazing to see someone, look at those, down in that area and say, hey, this is going to be going away and they're going to lose this, and you be able to step in and keep it going for, those racers down there that need that. I mean, it's one of those things, a lot of us need these races, and it's really tough up here. That's one of my biggest problems with living in the Northwest. It's part of the reason I went to triathlons, to fill in the gaps, because for when it comes to OCR, besides like, not to sound bad, I just don't feel like driving a long way for some of them. It's like they're not really local, but they're a smaller brand, and you're just like, this is half the obstacles, you're like, I think I'm gonna die. But so some of those I'm just like, I don't really want to go do those ones. I want the better ones, but it's like they're not coming. I have the big boys, they come for like 3 months. We have them in August, September, and September. So, and that's kind of the thing is, so a lot of it for me is like, well, I don't have those. So what else can I do? So it's like, I just did a Ragnar, freaking amazing. Never done a Ragnar before. Loved it. Tired as can be though. I mean, I'm still like 3 days later, my body's like, I still want to take a nap. But that was amazing. I've done the Sisu, another amazing race. So it's kind of like I've had to branch out, because we didn't have those, where we didn't have somebody up here, who was saying, oh, that race is going out. Let me step in and see if I can, save it and make it even better. So, and it's amazing that you can do that down there.
We're trying. We'll see how it goes. We're really excited to have bought the Black Swamp brand. I think that is going to be just an amazing combination, because we'll take some of our signature obstacles that, of course, they've got obstacles that are permanent there. So I'm very excited to get out there and see how Jason integrates the two brands together. They have some amazing obstacles already, and then we'll bring our peg wall and probably 777 and our 60-foot rig and those kinds of things, and some of our signature heavy carries, and just it's kind of the best of both worlds. So the folks in Ohio who always loved racing with Troy and Sandy are going to get that course and a little bit extra. So I'm very, very excited about that. It's also helpful that Troy and Sandy, who we bought the race from, are amazing people and, have kind of held our hand along the way.
Yeah.
We don't know people in Ohio. We don't have a following in Ohio. So we'll see how it works. We'll see how that turns out. That's coming up August 13th. So it'll be here before we know it.
Which is awesome. I mean, and that sounds so cool. I mean, but like you said, I mean, it's one of those, you're taking it over from someone. So, I mean, it's established, but at the same time, it's like an established brand that's there that people already know about. But now you get to put keep with what they were doing to kind of say, hey, it's an established, here's some cool stuff that they were doing, but here's some twist on it. And here's some of the stuff that we do, and that's one of the things I've always loved about the locals. And I mentioned that, like, a lot of the big guys, I can go to their race here, or I can go to their race in, Texas. It's the same race.
Same thing. Yeah.
Same
And
obstacles, everything.
it's expensive. It's the same thing. I talked about this yesterday. Somebody said, what makes your race brand different? And I said, well, you can run 5 of our events and have 5 different medals and 5 different t-shirts. So you're not going to get the same medal at every single event. And that's why we like to theme them. That's why we kept the Black Swamp. That's why we kept Murder Creek. So we like that because it draws plays into the tourism aspect of it to draw people into the community, excuse me, but it also gives it a little bit of a niche. So, if you ran Murder Creek and got that awesome spinner medal last year, you're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do at Scenic City to top this?
Yeah.
Because I'm big on really good medals and really good shirts. I like the bling. I do not want to pay $150 and finish a race and get the same medal I got at the last race and a shirt that doesn't fit me.
And I mean, I agree. I mean, and I've ran into that with a few where all of a sudden it's like, like I said, it's the same medal, same shirt, probably the exact same obstacles. They would just moved from, Seattle to, wherever. And that's kind of the hard part for me. And I'm nothing against those. They're fun. I like the people. We have a blast. But at the same time, I like the little ones because every once in a while you're doing it like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. This obstacle is just amazing. I never would have thought of this, and that's what I like.
Just saying, it's a lot of innovation at the local.
And sometimes some of this, what seems like the stupidest little idea is just the most amazing, funnest thing. I think one of my favorite ones that I've had at a local one was they took a bunch of tires and stacked them up into a maze and then put a tarp over the top of it.
Oh gosh.
A black tarp. So it was darkness. It was pitch black and you're trying to crawl through this maze. It's only like, 1.5 feet high. And you're like, this is so stupid, but at the same time, so amazing.
Jason likes to do obstacles that are simple if you can figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't figure it out because they don't take the time to stop and look at the obstacle and go, okay, if I did it this way, it would be easier. They just start going. I mean, one of our obstacles is called Dig Deep, and it's just a tall frame, almost, imagine a football goalpost.
Yeah.
And you take I think the women's is 15 and men's is 20. It might be 25. Anyway, it's a slam ball and they've got to toss it over the post. Now, granted, it's 10 foot off the ground and that's a haul. So you'll see our elite racers, just trying constantly just to basketball shoot that thing. And, if they just turn around and lop it like a granny throw over their head, 5 times easier. Yeah. So little things like that, he likes to come up with. You pay attention to what you're doing, you can get it done a lot easier.
Which, I mean, there's a lot of those, and I love those where they just make you kind of think a little bit. Where all of a sudden, like ones where you get onto like that, where you're trying so hard, and then all of a sudden you see someone else doing, it and you're like, oh, well, that's so stupid and simple.
Yes.
Like, why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
But then the things like, when you have the ones like we're talking about, where it's the same obstacle over and over again, there's no challenge. I've done this a million times. When I come up to it, I know the easiest way to do it because I did it last week.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
all of a sudden I come up on something like that and you're like, oh, and you're trying to think about it. And some of them were just brute strength. There was one that I never got to do, unfortunately, because they went out of, folded before, during COVID when I was supposed to go do it. But they had one where it was just, you picked up a rock and threw it over your shoulder. But it was like, I had to do it 20 times.
Golly, yeah.
So it was just one of those things. It sounds like but by the end of by number 20, you're like, oh, Jesus. My arms don't want to work anymore, and there's so many of those that you just don't think about. Like I did one not too long ago where you had to pick up a bunch of the weights, the kettlebells, and go to the other side, set it down, go back at the other ones. And once you got them over there, then turn around and bring them all back. Well, and everyone's over there and it's like the stupidest thing, but they're like, but everyone's doing it going back and forth. And I came up there and literally just slid my arms through all the handles and grabbed the farthest one and picked them all up like 120 pounds on each side. And just went. And they're like, what the? And I'm like, nobody said how many times we had to do this. If I have to do this, I'm doing it once.
Yeah.
Went to the other end, turned around and walked back. And they're like, oh.
That one.
Like, I didn't say how many times it had to take me to do it. I'm doing it in one shot.
I think you do good at one of our races.
Yeah. So I definitely got to get down there because, like I said, I love those ones that it's just sometimes the stupidest, easiest ones, and the whole idea of that one was one because there's shooting in that one too. It was to smoke your arms before you got to the guns. So, yeah. So
awesome. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I love it. It's the state of the industry right now is just, it's up in the air. Hear all of the talk and the rumors about the big guys struggling, and they are struggling. I mean, it's evident. But the little guys are struggling too. We're seeing about a 40 to 50% decrease in registration from last year. And I wanted to know why. I emailed all of our racers that did not return and surveyed them. And 72% of them said gas prices.
Yeah.
So, and that gas prices doesn't just affect your registration. We're driving a diesel truck to Ohio. That's $1,500 in diesel one trip. So, before we even buy a medal, buy a shirt, build an obstacle, we've got $4,500 in cost in fuel alone. So, it's going to be interesting to see what 2023 holds for the industry, for who makes it into 2023. We'll just have to see. I mean, we'll be there.
Yeah.
It'll come hell or high water. We'll be there.
That'll be good.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to sink us or sink me. But yeah, it's definitely an unfortunate time for a lot of race brands, and there's been a lot of race directors coming together kind of thing and trying to support each other and hold each other up and say, hey, if you need our rig or what our finish line arch or whatever you need, if we're not using it, come get it. We're happy to lend it out, because in reality, the more events that come about, the more racers we will pull to the sport. And as people are leaving the sport, we've got to replace them somehow. One of the things that I did, or not I did solely, but an idea that I spawned at Legendborn was the Young Legends team. And it's growing slowly, but it's growing. And that is solely to try to recruit more young people into the sport, because this is a sport of 40 and up for the most part.
It is.
And we got to get some of these younger guys in here and expand the sport so that we can then grow as individual brands throughout. I mean, Phoenix and Warex and Frontline and Highlander and all of these great local races, you know, we support the sport just as much as the big guys do, because a lot of people come to one of our races and then feel like they're ready for a Spartan, only to get to Spartan and realize our race was harder. But
Yeah.
it gives them that confidence to go out there and toe the start line at that event. You know, it's all about working together, and right now we've all got to work together and kind of help each other promote, help each other with whatever we can.
Yeah. And they do. I mean, because like you said, even the big guys are struggling. It's one of those things. I've seen a couple of the bigger ones start canceling races because they're not getting enough signups.
Yeah.
One of the ones here in, you know, the Seattle area just got canceled in August because they didn't have enough.
Yep.
So it's one of those that, you know, hopefully, I mean, hopefully the sport keeps going. I'm hoping this is just a lull in it. I mean, I believe it's going to keep going, but it's just a matter of how much. I mean, we had a huge push right before COVID where everybody was, you know, there's a couple race brands started having issues right then, but, you know, because it was starting to have a slight decline. But like I said, it's the smaller ones because you do those. And that's kind of what I did. I did a bunch of smaller ones and then thought, okay, I think I'm ready for a Spartan. And then realized some of those smaller ones were harder.
Yeah, definitely.
So
yeah, it's you know, and everybody wants to show their support, and the best way to do it is to sign up, you know, to register, period. So that's we'll see how the rest of the year plays out, and it's scary, but it's not just obstacle course racing.
oh, it's
I mean,
everybody.
yeah, our triathlon was down 60%. Our marathon in October, you know, we're trailing 20% down. So it's across the boards. Any kind of expendable income, I think, is people are onto it.
Yeah. It's like right now, I mean, the one I'm doing this weekend, the triathlon, I just got an email yesterday saying, hey, I know you already paid for it, but if you show up Saturday and volunteer at packet pickup, we'll refund your money. Because not just are they having problems with racers, they're having problems with volunteers and getting help. So it was like one of those things. I was shocked. I was like, you know, I think I'm going to be down there Saturday because I wouldn't mind getting that race registration back. But it's
That's
one of
right.
those that, you know, they're not just, I hear it every single one, come help out. But I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of the bigger guys, they got to a point where they made it such a pain to volunteer that nobody wants to do it. It's like it used to be like 4 to 6 to 8 hours right around there. And you got, you know, a free race. And now it's like 12.
Yeah.
They don't have the support like they used to. I mean, they used to give us full meals and stuff like that while we're volunteering for 8 hours. Now it's like a peanut butter sandwich that looks like, you know, someone sat on it for 6 hours. So, I mean, it's like, why? You know, it's like, yes, the free race, that's worth it. But then after a while, you start doing the math. It's like 12 hours, 100, you know, $80 for a free race. I'm like, I might as well just gone to work.
Yes. Yes. And that's, I talked to somebody about that this week. We haven't had a problem with volunteers because luckily what we have done is we have a large ambassador squad.
Yep.
And they are trained in our obstacles. So if they volunteer for the competitive heat, then they turn around and can race for free after that. So they have to volunteer for 3 hours tops and they race for free. We have our pro team typically will run and then volunteer some after that, wherever we need them. We have been very, very blessed with a lot of people that just to volunteer. I mean, it amazes me. They don't even run them. They're just there to volunteer. And of course, you know, when we can, we get their hotel rooms and their meals, and you know, we all try to take care of them like that because, you know, nobody wants to work for free, but they come out and just hang out and support us, and it just amazes me. So you know, luckily volunteers have not been something we've had a problem with, but we also do a lot of charity work in the cities that we're in. Like in Murder Creek, we partnered with a charity called Paws Cross, and they had almost 40 volunteers out there on race morning doing anything and everything we needed them to, and then we in turn gave a portion of the profits back to them.
Nice. And that's pretty cool. I mean, having stuff like that, but that also shows that you take care of your volunteers because they come back.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, when I first started doing some of the bigger races, my wife would volunteer while I raced. But then it became such a pain. She's like, I don't want to do it anymore. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to force you to. It was a bonus for me, but if you don't want to do it, okay, cool. But, and that's one of those things is when you have a race that takes care of you, people come back and volunteer. So, and it's always cool finding the volunteers. One of the races I did, they actually they would use the junior ROTC because most of their races were military based. So they actually had to deal with the ROTC, and they would come out and volunteer. So
our Tuscaloosa race was military based, and we had the University of Alabama's cadets out. So that was neat.
Yeah.
But
That's always cool to see them because cadets are so respectful. I mean, it's like, and I'll be honest, and not to sound sexist or anything, but the female cadets, the most respectful, helpful people I've ever dealt with. The guys couldn't get their heads out of the clouds.
They were pretty good. They did a good job. Ohio, most of our people aren't going to take that trek to Ohio. So we'll have to see how that turns out. But we did make some great friendships with some folks up there when we went up we were supposed to spend 7 days in Ohio. We spent almost 12 days in Ohio because our diesel broke down. But we went up and ran the Savage in Ohio, and then we did the Black Swamp, their last race in Ohio. And so we got to meet a lot of their volunteers and their big supporters that came out to see them for their last event, and made some good relationships there. And then the next week we went down to Indian Mud Run, and that's where it all went south, where the truck broke down in the parking lot in the festival area at Indian Mud Run. So had to have it towed to a mechanic. And I don't know if you've ever been to Indian Mud Run, but
no, I want to. But I don't know if that's going to be a possibility or because it sounds like they might be. Yeah.
I'm not. I can't even speak on that. People keep asking me, trying to get me to talk about it. I'm like, I can't even talk about that. I don't know what's happening there. But that town's about this big. So a mechanic was difficult. The truck was broke down for 4 full days up there. So we ended up having to rent a car and stay later than we had anticipated, and that was all kinds of fun. But we got to meet a lot of great people that a lot of them we are friends on Facebook, or they follow us on Instagram, and we had never put a face to the name because we're always in the South racing. We've been up to Vermont. We've been up to the Tri-State Spartan for the Ultra, but outside of that, most of our races that we have ran have been in the South. So it was a good experience to meet everybody, and I think a lot of those folks are coming out for the Black Swamp race.
It's awesome. I mean, that's kind of cool to get those kind of that kind of local help and all that. I mean, once again, like I said, it kind of shows to what kind of brand you have that people want to come out and help. I mean, it's one of those things I've seen a lot where all of a sudden, like the first 2 years, a company gets a lot of volunteers, and then the next year they can't find anyone. It's like, well, what'd you do to them the first 2 years? It made them not want to come back the third.
Yeah, and we recognize we could not do it without our volunteers, and our ambassador staff that says, hey, I want to help with social, or I want to help with the website, or I want to help with sponsorships, or whatever they help with. If they pull extra duties, they don't pay to race, period. And we, like I said, we try to get their hotel rooms, and we always do a dinner after the race. Even if we're in the hole, we still are going to take care of our volunteers, because without them, it wouldn't be possible at all. And that's huge to me. I volunteered once at another race, and was taking down tents, registration tents. And that was the most miserable in the rain. That was the most miserable situation. And I figured it out. And it was like $9 an hour of what I saved. And I was like, I will never do this again at this level. Now, when, other, like Indian Mud Run, I volunteered up there, that kind of, but, local races that they just need help, I'll go volunteer, not necessarily for a free race, but just to help. I didn't in mud run. I went to work with Legend Born, and we had a Phoenix booth, and Jason ran it. But I am glad to say I didn't run that race.
I heard it was a fun one. I've heard from a few people that I talked to that, said it was a fun one. I got to go out there. So I'm hoping, maybe that they aren't completely gone, but who knows? So there's a lot of.
This is what I'll say. I think there will be a race in Coshocton next year. I know it won't be Indian Mud Run.
No.
That's about my level of knowledge of the situation.
Kind of what I figured. That's kind of what I've heard, that, it's going to be that way, but who knows? I mean, who knows what's going to happen in this crazy world? So who knows? Like I said,
Yeah.
I keep hoping we're going to get more up here in the Northwest. We, like I said, we had a couple fun ones up here that are just, I want to see them come back, but who knows if they will. So,
It was so expensive to get on the other side of the United States. And that's what's holding us back from a lot of the other venues. There's a great venue up in New York State, and we would love to get up in that area, but it's a 15-hour drive from here, and we don't have drivers. We can't ship this stuff. It's me and Jason and sometimes Kate and 2 trucks and 2 trailers, and here we go.
Yeah, and that's difficult.
It is. And we like the Ohio aspect of it, because we can build that course and leave it, and then just move things around to change it up a little bit. Jason is very good at building obstacles that can be an obstacle if you're coming at it from this way or this way.
Yeah.
So with very little modifications, you might have to add a rope or something of that nature, but it can have a dual purpose, because one thing we won't do is build 2 courses exactly the same. It just isn't any fun. If the racers come out and know what they're expecting, that's not any fun for the racers. So we do like the element of being able to have that course there, have that property, leave everything we need aside from our rig. It's got to go. We can't afford a rig for every venue. But it can go on the smaller trailer, and it's a lot less expensive for one vehicle. So
yeah. And that's what's nice too. In some of those, if you can build one and leave it, but I mean, then adjust it. And that's one thing that, I have seen some, like around here, there used to be one where they built it and it was just that way. But then all of a sudden it was like year 3 or 4, you could tell they weren't doing any maintenance to it. And you're like, I'm not going on that, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to die. So I'm out. No, it's like, I like an obstacle, but I don't like an obstacle where there's a chance. I mean, I get that we signed a waiver, but
yeah,
that just looks sketch.
it does. And
there's been a few that I've seen that I'm just like, yeah, no. So is there anything else you want to talk about coming up? I mean, let anybody know, what you've got going. I mean, I want to get out there and do it, but this year, because of things I got planned for next year, the travel, besides the ones that we have, and part of those I'm only going to because my wife wants to go to that city for other reasons. So
well, your wife would love Chattanooga, and that's coming up on September 3rd. We do in order to help make it a little bit more affordable for everybody. I mean, first of all, our races are inexpensive. All of our races, whether it's competitive or open, it's always going to be under $100, even on race day. I think race day, it's $99 for competitive and $89 for open. But leading up to it, they start at $39, and then they're $59, and then $69, and then they jump race week. So our races are always very reasonably priced for the swag you get. But in Chattanooga, it is close to our home gym, so we have a big OCR slumber party. So everybody brings an air mattress or a sleeping bag or a hammock to hang from the monkey bars, and they camp out, because we have showers, we have bathrooms, we have microwave, we have fridge, just about anything you're going to need that a hotel room would have, we have it there. So, and our gym it's 14,000 square feet, but it's sectioned off. So we have a big training camp room, then we have a fight club room, then we have an OCR room, then we have the free weights, and then the yoga room. So there's plenty of space for everybody to spread out and not be on top of each other. So that's an option. Between now and Chattanooga, we have the August 13th Ohio Black Swamp September 3rd, Chattanooga, and then we're back in Kentucky, just east of Louisville on October 22nd for the Berserker Battle. That's sponsored by Berserker Coffee.
Say that one 4 times fast. Oh,
yeah, exactly. We're looking forward to that event too. It was last year was miserable.
no, don't tell them that.
We moved it a month earlier. It was in late November. This year it is in October because I said I am not directing a race in 28-degree weather, period. Next year it's got to be earlier or I'm not coming.
I could see that.
It was a very, very blistery wind, cold morning. So out of the registrations we had a 50% no-show.
Wow.
Yeah, 50% because of the weather. It was spitting up. It had poured down rain the day before, so all that had iced over. The parking lot was just ice. It was a mess, but you know what? We had a great time. We ended up having a good time. Bland Matthews, that owns the Berserker brand, built a big old fire. We had hot chocolate out there, and once everybody started getting warmed up, it was just a good time.
That's awesome. I know we had one up here once that was called the Freeze, that was down in like Oregon, that I was going to go to, and literally like the day it was supposed to be, I left my house to like drive down there and made it like a mile from my house, looked down there because I'm up on a hill, went to to go down the hill, and I'm like, nope, ain't happening.
No,
and like went back to my house. I'm like, nope, can't do it, ain't gonna do it. Nope.
Yeah, we might do a cold weather race next year. Might is a huge word. We also might do a very southern warm weather race. We'll see. Jason doesn't mind the cold, so he's all about having a cold weather race up in Ohio. Also going to be looking at doing some night races next year too. We had a blast at the night race we went to at the Black Swamp, their Moonlight Mud Run. It was so much fun. So those I don't know if they'll tie into a morning race, because you realistically can't do a world's qualifier night race.
Yeah.
So we might tie it into the daytime race and then mix it up a little bit for the evening run. That's just a fun run. Families can come out and do it together. But we'll see. That's all on our plate, and we're just tossing around all the ideas of what do the people want to see, what do the racers want to do, kind of thing.
Yeah. The night race sounds fun. I've done a couple, never a mud run, but I've done a couple. I just did like the CSU was a 24-hour event. So we're running around in the trails in the middle of the night, and really made me realize I need a much better headlamp. And then I did the Ragnar, one of the races I had to do. I had to run 9 miles in the middle of the night down a freaking highway. So it was so weird. But I was mad though, because I didn't pick. There was one running across a really cool bridge, the Deception Pass Bridge up here, and I didn't realize it was the leg before me.
Oh no!
So I was kind of like, "Damn it! I wanted that one." But yeah, so
that all sounds fine. This night run, you're in the Black Swamp mud to here.
Okay, now that does sound.
From the waist to the chest is water, but from the mud starts about your waist, and then from about your knees down, it is thick black mud. I was positive an anaconda was going to eat me.
I don't know if they have those in Ohio.
No, but it didn't matter to me at that moment.
No, but I get it, because that's one of the things everyone always laughs at me, because I hate the dunk wall or anything where I have to go underwater that I can't see into. And I'm like, I've watched enough horror movies. I know what's in that water.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like I tell everyone, we don't need the COVID vaccine. We've been in a dunk wall.
Yes. Exactly.
We've had it all, everything. So, all right. Well, on that one, I think I'm gonna, let you go. Thank you for being on here with me and talking about it. I look so forward to being able to come out to the East Coast and do some of your races. So, like you said, you'll be around in 2023, and you better, because that's the only way I'm getting out there to see your races and do a few of them. So I'd love to do all of them, the mud, the triathlon, all of it.
We'll be here.
All right on. All right. Well, hopefully I'll see you.
Thanks, Mike. Have a good day.
You too. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.